Hey guys, this is kind of a off-the-cuff video a little bit. Getting this thing ready for winter. Just starting to get ready to begin working on the winter build. You can see the fenders are already removed. They are already downtown, being finished, getting the welding finished up on them. And then they'll be primed and painted probably in a couple weeks. So that's something. We got the hood line for both sides pretty darn spot on. We had to move the hood latch location. You can see that we had to grind the nuts off the back of the radiator support, because these use a welded nut to hold the hood latch on, and drill new holes. And yeah, we got it pretty much perfect. The hood fits perfect. The fenders look perfect. Everything looks really good when it's all assembled. So we're pretty much done with that. So yeah, now I'm just priming and painting where we had to grind all that metal down. So that's in progress. Plans for the winter build. There's all kinds of little things that I have to get done. It's partly why I'm shooting this video, so I can remember half this stuff. I need to remove the wipers and take that cover off again. And then I'm going to drill holes and put rib nuts in the firewall to mount the GM 3-bar map sensor. So that'll be permanently mounted up. And then I also need to do a little bit better job of plumbing this. So maybe like a 90-degree into this fitting here, which will curve over real nicely to this map sensor. And that'll be a lot better. It'll be a lot less conspicuous. And then another 90 from here down into this, so it'll look a lot nicer when it's finished. So I got to do that. Like I said, priming and painting the hood latch stuff, that'll only take another day to complete, so that's nearly done. The engine build, the plans for sure that are happening is this engine, as some of you guys might remember, is a 2.3 liter stroker. Right now it's running on stock Evo 4 camshafts, and that's no bueno. So it's getting GSC R2 cams for the 2.3, and then AEM cam gears and a clear cam gear cover from Zackley. That's definitely happening. That's kind of a big project, something that I don't want to have to deal with next year. So that's one of the things I'm definitely doing while it's down for the winter, is the cams, cam gears, and cover. And then I actually already have, and these were donated by John at Premier Autosports, so big thanks to him for that. These are ARP camshaft cam gear bolts, so those will look a little bit nicer than the stock ones. And John is who I end up buying pretty much all my parts from. Occasionally I get stuff from STM, but John's local and he's a buddy of mine, so throw him some business. Check him out at Premier Autosports on Facebook, and tell him I sent you. So yeah, that's getting done. The intercooler piping is good. Some of you guys remember I picked that up, but I'm still on a stock Evo 8 intercooler, and that's something that I'm going to be changing out as well. I'm not sure what I'm going to end up going with. I would say the power output of this motor is going to be in the 600s. I'm not sure where, if it's going to be high or low, but it should be in the 600 horsepower range. So I need an intercooler to flow at least for that. But it's gonna. I gotta figure out what the plans for the turbo is gonna be as well, because it's if I get the So the order of things is going to be cams, cam gears first, and then right after that will be an intercooler upgrade, because that'll be the next restriction on the line. After that will be fuel system. I need to redo the fuel system on this car. Right now it's stock lines, Walbro 255 stock filter into my AN line that I made down there off the stock filter with a banjo fitting, and that's a -6 line that goes right into the rail. I need to upgrade the rail as well. So yeah, after the cams, cam gears, and intercooler, I would be getting a fuel rail that supports AN just kind of natively, not one that has that restriction of the adapter fitting. So I'll get those, and then I need to run a new feed line, which will probably be -8, and I'm planning to use the stock feed line as a return. And they sell a fitting that I can buy that uses the stock connector that spins into the fuel filter down there and converts it to 6AN. Radium Engineering sells that, so I'll probably be getting that from them. And then I'll use, and the stock feed line is basically a -6 line. So I'll have a -8 feed and a -6 return. And then I need to figure out what I'm going to do for a fuel pump. This is a really tricky car to do fuel system work on, because it has the hump for the drive shaft in the tank. You can see there's a hump, so there's two different sides of the fuel tank, that side and this side. And so how it works is the fuel siphons from the other side using a Venturi off of the stock fuel pump hanger. And that Venturi, you can drill it out to different sizes, but if you don't get it exactly right, or if your fuel pressure is not exactly right, you'll drain one side of the tank faster than the other, which for a car of this caliber would be pretty devastating. So I don't know that I really want to use that stock style setup. I'm kind of going through my options right now. I have the option of sumping both sides of the tank to where it uses every last bit of fuel in there, and then putting a Y fitting in, and one of my buddies recommended the Aeromotive Eliminator fuel pump, so I might run a single one of those with the tank sumped on both sides. So that's an option. And I've also been thinking about just removing the stock tank altogether and then cutting out the spare tire well and putting in a fuel cell. But that seems kind of a shame since we did all the work to try to make the floor pan look original to the car. It seems like it'd be a shame to do that. So, and there's also I still can do a double pumper setup, or there's all kinds of setups out there for these. So I just have to kind of decide what I want to do. The fuel system components that I've already purchased, like the Fuel Lab pressure regulator kit from STM, and stuff like that, the AN lines, and all the fittings that I've bought, those will all stay, with the exception of the fuel rail, and of course the fuel filter fitting. I'll probably run an inline fuel filter for AN when I get the setup finished. So most of that stuff can stay. That was the reason I purchased those parts and went ahead and installed them, was planning ahead. So that's probably what I'll do for that. And so assuming all that stuff gets done this winter, once all those three things are accomplished, the engine work, the intercooler, and then the fuel system work, if I get all that stuff done, then the next thing to do will be turbo setup. And I've been talking with Force Performance a little bit about what to do with this. We may end up putting an FP Green in it, and they said that they think that'll get me to my power goal, which is lag-free so I can have a quick autocrossing car and a good car for the track, but also be able to run a 10 in the quarter mile is what I'd like to be able to see. So they think their green is big enough turbo to be able to do those things, so that may end up being what I go with, but that's still up in the air, as well as the fuel system. So the only thing set in stone is the intercooler upgrade and then the cams and cam gears. That stuff is definitely getting done. The turbo setup and the fuel setup, I still have a lot of research to do, so just stay tuned for that. And then definitely before it hits the road next year, it will have a color matched front bumper, the fenders will be painted, the side skirts will be color matched to the car, and the rear bumper is going to get a respray. So initially when we had sprayed this, it was the first time we'd ever sprayed paint on plastic parts before, and there is an adhesion agent that you mix in. We didn't quite get enough, or not mix in, you spray it first, and we didn't quite get enough coverage here or here, so it ended up flaking off, but you know, that's okay. You know, it's a learning, this whole car has been a learning experience. So we'll respray that bumper as well this winter, and we actually got it right when we did the wing, so we know that we can do it this time. We just, like I said, first time for everything. So, and then I'm trying to debate, maybe you guys can give me some feedback on what you think of this. Right now, this is about as much clearance as I can get. You can see that I actually had a rubbing issue before. This was really just because of the bushings that were worn out in the control, or the stock trailing arms with the old car, and it would let the tire flex into it. It doesn't rub now, but it's extremely close to the fender. So I'm going to be stepping up in tire size, and I'm trying to decide what I want to do about these stock fenders. They're kind of destroyed anyway. There's some rust forming here, and you can see this doesn't look quite right. When I first got this car, like I said, this is the first car build that I've ever done, and everything that I've learned on this car. That was the result of me trying to roll the fenders. Didn't know what I was doing back then. I thought a hairdryer would be enough heat. Clearly it wasn't. Knowing what I know now, you know, a heat gun and a Eastwood fender roller, I could probably have done this without damaging things, but you know, you live and learn. I was 19 at the time, so that was quite a few years ago. But yeah, so I gotta fix that, and I think what I might do is put a set of like June style fender flares on, like S13 flares, and some of them look really ugly, but some of them I've seen done look really tasteful. So I'm thinking that might be the answer to giving me a little bit more fender clearance, so I can run a wider tire. I do not see 215 4017s being anywhere near enough tire for 600 horsepower 4G63. So that may be the answer, is going with those fender flares. But the problem with that is going to be the front fenders, because after doing all the work to get those things perfect, I'm not going to cut into those. So I may be getting them molded and then remade in carbon fiber, so that then I'll have the molds and I can, you know, reproduce copies if you guys want to purchase them, since they're so difficult to make. So I'll probably, that's probably what I'll end up doing, is remaking the fenders in fiberglass and carbon fiber, and then I'll drill into those and put flares on those ones, but we'll keep the original ones original. And then there's, of course, you know, always the possibility that I may just stay with these stock fenders and just see what I can do. But I don't know if that's going to happen this winter or not. Like, more things for me to think about. Feel free to give me some feedback, see what you guys think. If I should leave the stock body alone, or if I should go the fender flare route. Like I said, I really haven't put a ton of thought into it yet. All the research has been on what cams to run and stuff like that, and just being happy that the thing actually runs. So, those couple of things. Oh, a couple of more things that are definitely happening this winter. I'm going to be removing the Evo 5 ECU, and we're going to switch this thing over to an Evo 8 ROM with a later model ECU. So the SETI mods are really, really good, but they can only take me so far. With the Evo 8, I can run Tephra, and it's got a lot more support, especially here in the States. So we'll probably switch over to one of those and then run Tephra. And that'll let me get the speed density kit up and running. I've already got most of the speed density stuff done. I showed you guys the map sensor earlier. I actually had Fat House Fabrications weld an IAT bung onto my intercooler pipe, and I've kind of got that tucked away nice and stealthy. And then I've got a speed density cable here from, I can't even remember who makes that. It's Spooling Up speed density cable. So, and then of course, that just unplugged the mass airflow, and these plug in together. So, pretty simple speed density conversion. The problem has been the support from the SETI mods ECU. I tried a couple of different ECU pins. I can't remember off the top of my head which ones I had tried. But I spent a lot of time on Lancer Register talking to the guys that ran these, and for whatever reason we just couldn't get it to work. The ECU was not picking up the map sensor at all. So for the sake of just making things easier for myself and for the tuner, we're just going to switch to a more supported Evo 8 ECU and run Tephra. So that'll get me the speed density. I'll probably lose my anti-lag stuff, but to be honest, I probably wasn't going to run that anyway with a more expensive turbocharger, so not a huge deal there. And then I'll have working launch control and stuff like that as well. So that'll be an upgrade. That's definitely happening. I'm going to pick up an AEM ECU extension harness for when I have to do harness repin, since this is a really old wiring harness. Don't want to be moving wires around. They're really brittle already. I had one snap off on me last time I was working on this thing, so that was a nightmare. It took me 2 hours to fix that thing because it's so tight underneath the dash. So I'll be doing that, and then again, to make it easier on myself, more than likely what I'll be doing is removing the entire wiring harness from the engine harness, and then I'll take the engine harness, and all of this ancient shrouding is coming off, and that stuff looks like crap anyway, so all of that's going to get removed, and then test all my resistances, make sure the rest of the wiring is good. Most of the stuff, when I checked it before, was really good, so I don't think I'll have to rewire any of it, but there's a good 10 connectors underneath the dash that aren't hooked up to anything, since this car doesn't have AYC or ABS, and it's all kind of tucked away here. There's a handful of them. Yeah, it's just crazy how many extra connectors there are when you don't run, all the electronic goodies. So all of this stuff will be getting removed from the harness, since it's not used on my build, and all that wiring will be removed, and that'll be a lot of extra junk out of the way. And so I'm planning on, once all that's done, I'm gonna get some of that fancy kind of like, I don't know, fishnet kind of looking shroud and redo the whole harness with that. And then I'm planning to put a firewall disconnect on the car, because for whatever reason Mitsubishi thought it was a good idea to make the engine harness all one piece, which is great. That's a great idea. But then they pass it through the firewall and bolt it underneath the dash, and the ECU is up in the kick panel. So without removing the dash to get to those 2 bolts that hold the wiring harness in, you can't remove the harness without pulling the whole dash apart. So thanks a lot for that, Mitsubishi. But all of that can be fixed with a quick disconnect plug on the firewall, a Deutsch style connector. I think I need 100, maybe 150 pin plug to be able to do the whole harness. So I can't remember. It's a lot, but it would be entirely worth it when it's done. It'll make moving wiring around a lot easier on me. And since I mess with this car a lot, that would be good. So anyway, I think that's about it. That's the winter plans, and the car is officially taken down. So no, you probably won't be seeing it on the road again anytime soon, but hey, that's how it goes, right? All for the sake of upgrading. So anyway, I will see you guys next time, and thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Hopefully this thing will be a real monster next year. We'll see you guys next time.